There are times when it's useful in programming to perform a repetitive task. So it's useful for us to have a way of doing that. And the way that we do that is with loops. And loops execute a sequence of statements several times in succession. We'll be looking at definite loops. The contrast to that would be infinite loops, which aren't going to serve our purposes. So a definite loop is a loop that will execute a definite number of times. And this is kind of how the flow of a loop would look. So we start off with a certain number of items in a sequence. For each of those items, we iterate. So we take a look at that value or whatever it is, variable, and then we perform some task on that item, and then we loop back around and perform the same process on the next item in the sequence. So we just keep going through this loop over and over again until all items in the, it's usually a list or a range of values. We'll see several examples today until each of those have been addressed. So once we get to the end of the loop, we're at the very last value in the sequence, then we're done. The loop will end. So here are some examples of how it would look. We're going to do several really simple examples in our Python Jupyter notebook. So the following loop here will multiply every value in the range of 1 to 10 by 10 and by a factor of 10 and print the result. Okay, so let me skip back to where I just was. Okay, I want to highlight this code block and click run. Alright, so I've printed each of those values. So I've defined, here's what we do. We say for I in range 10. So I is our choice. This could say thing, it could say value, it could say y. We make that choice about what we want to call each item. So we say for each thing in the range of 10, perform this task. And I'm deciding to also print the result. I wanted to show you what happens if we remove the indent for the print function. Alright, so notice that what I get is just the last value in the sequence. So that's kind of important for us to notice that the indent makes a really big difference. In this first case, I'm printing it out each time because it's part of the iteration. But if I remove the indent, I'm just printing the last value, the current value of x. I'll keep that in mind as we go forward. Another way we can perform an iteration is by inputting a list of items. And a list, as we saw the other day, has brackets around it, and then we have several values separated by commas. And I'm defining this list and I'm giving it a name, things. So it has the name things and then these 5 values. And then I build the loop starting with for. And then again, this is a term that I'm defining. So for each thing in things, which is a list that's already been defined, I'm going to print that value plus 2. These choices of operations are arbitrary just for the purposes of illustration. So I've performed that process on each of the items in the list. Let's do one that involves a string. So I'll run this and notice that I'm defining the string in my quotes, and then I'm going to say for I and str. So I'm defining I as each thing that I want to investigate, and I'm just going to print out each letter. So that's what we get. So that's a very brief introduction to iteration in programming. We have several examples in our Jupyter notebook, and I will make a video to go over some more sophisticated examples that illustrate how we can translate a regular description of a process that would involve iteration into a Python program.